In this video, we are going to be talking about how to write a personal narrative, covering your Lesson 1.10 assignment. In Tuesday's class, we get to discuss what are the key parts to a personal narrative, and in this video, we're going to identify the parts of a narrative arc of a personal narrative, as well as begin to plan our own. So what is a personal narrative? A personal narrative tells a true story of something that happened to you. What are the key parts to a personal narrative? Well, you're going to start with an exposition. So this is the beginning of your narrative. It introduces the setting, characters, and the situation. Then you have your inciting incident. So this event introduces the conflict which drives your narrative. Your rising action will have your characters deal with the conflict as it unfolds. Drama is heightened and suspense is building. It's keeping the reader engaged and wondering what's going to happen next. Then you're going to have your climax. So this is the turning point. All of the drama comes to a peak. This event will solve or make the conflict worse. Your falling action, tension relaxes, outcome of the climax is shown. And then your resolution. So loose ends are tied up and the story comes to a satisfying close. This note is very important. Its narratives are told in chronological order. So the narrative is going to unfold all of its events in order in which they happened. You need to make sure your story goes in order of what happened. Otherwise, the reader is going to be confused. So we're going to take a closer look. So in addition to following the narrative arc, all narratives have characters, events, setting, and a narrative viewpoint. So here's an example of a personal narrative. To calm my nerves, I bounced a yellow tennis ball over and over on the clay court. I looked across the net at my longtime rival, Gregory Liven. The match of the decade, the journalist called it. The two of us had lived through the same scene in 12 tournaments on 3 continents, and Gregory had won 9. This time, I called out, launching the words at Gregory like a serve. He shrugged, arrogant as always. This time will be no different. So when looking at this example, ask yourself, can you find the characters, events, setting, and the narrative viewpoint? So I have them color-coded for you. If we start with the characters, we know that I am a character. I'm telling it in my point of view. Gregory is the other character. Events is the match of the decade, so it's all about this big tennis match. The setting is going to be taking place on the clay court, and the narrative viewpoint is first person, because I have I and my. So we know it's told from my point of view. So the same example, narratives can sometimes include dialogue. What is dialogue, and can you find it in the narrative below? So looking at the example, can you guys find the dialogue? This time I called out is a dialogue, and we know this because a dialogue is when a character in a narrative speaks. It is always set off with quotation marks. So we know I have quotation marks on either side of this time. Gregory's response is another piece of dialogue. This time will be no different, and pay attention to the quotation marks. So we're going to put it all together. When you're using your knowledge of the characteristics of a narrative and the narrative arc to craft your own personal narrative. So we're going to look at our requirements for our assignment. Your personal narrative assignment. So you're going to write a personal narrative about a challenging experience you have experienced in real life. It should be 500 to 750 words long, so 2 to 3 pages. Write from the first person point of view, so I, me, we statements. You will be the main character. So again, it's all about you. Include 1 or 2 other important characters who participated. You're going to organize the events in chronological order, reflecting the order of the plot arc. So again, exposition, complicating incident, rising action, climax, and your falling action and resolution. Describe people, places, and events clearly and in detail using vivid words. So you want to make it interesting. You want to make the person feel as though they were there when it happened. Include dialogue. The final draft will be scored by your teacher using the narrative writing grading rubric. So look at the rubric yourself so you know how your writing will be scored. Follow the steps of the writing process to complete the assignment, and then you'll turn it in as a teacher-graded assignment. So again, your prompt is write a personal narrative about a challenging experience you have experienced in real life. So examples of this could be starting a new school, maybe a time you broke your arm, or maybe a moment when someone in your life passed away. Trying to convince your parents that you should get a dog. Those are some examples that you could use for your prompt. So what's next? In our Class Connect on Tuesday, be ready to review personal narratives, have your personal narrative instructions downloaded along with the rubric. Make sure you read through those and save them to your computer. Continue to complete lessons as assigned in your class plan. And then on Thursday in our Class Connect, we're going to review for your Unit 1 test. So tomorrow in our Class Connect, please come with an idea for your personal narrative. We'll start brainstorming as well. Thanks, and see you in our Class Connect.